everyone, my name is Greg Cohen, and thank you so much for joining our live training class. I think you're going to be super pumped for this class. I am, and I want to applaud you for being here because, whenever you're learning something for the first time, or maybe some of you are accomplished in owning rental properties, but you're looking for a way to do it better, half of the battle is showing up, carving out the time to be there and learn from those who have done it before. So I applaud you. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us today. I'm going to do my very best to give you a tremendous amount of value. I had a lot of fun preparing for this training today because I got to think about all the stories that I've seen with our clients and that I've been a part of myself. And I think they're just really great learning lessons, and they're fun. And so that's what we're going to get a lot of. We're going to get a lot of stories today. There's going to be a lot of really valuable information that is going to help you, whether your goal is to buy your very first rental property or to take your portfolio from 10 rental properties to 50 rental properties. I'm going to have something for you here today. So I'm going to start off with a little bit about my story. And I'm going to take you back to 2006. And that's when this guy and a couple of other young guys got together and started this real estate company called JWB Real Estate Capital. And I remember how scary it was in that point. I remember how difficult the jump from being in corporate America, where I was before, to taking the leap and starting a real estate company was. And then after that, I remember feeling like I was on cloud nine, because this was 2006 when selling real estate was super easy. Even a caveman could do it, and definitely a few 20-somethings could definitely do it. While that was pretty awesome, the hard part about that was realizing that it wasn't real, that it wasn't that easy to sell real estate, that you shouldn't just be able to sell tons and tons of real estate in a short amount of time without really learning the fundamentals and how to do this well and how to serve clients. But that's the way it was in 2006. Everybody was thinking they were really good at real estate, and as we all came to know, it didn't last that long. Funny story, in 2006, again, we were a few 20-somethings, and we were like, well, we're starting out, what would be a really great way to kind of, quote unquote make it or build some credibility. And there weren't a whole lot of people that were rushing to give me money when I was 23 years old and hadn't really been through the rigors of investing for that long yet. And we said, well, how cool would it be to get in the newspaper? And I was like, I remember talking with my wife about it, and I was like, baby, how do you think, what could I do to get in the newspaper? She started her own business, been successful, and so I reached out to her, and she said, you know what, you should just call up the newspaper and tell them to write an article about you. And I was like, that is never gonna happen. And with most things that my wife says, at some point later on, whether that be the minute later or 5 years later, I realize how smart and wonderful she is. And that's how we got our first big break, I guess you would say. They wrote a newspaper article about us. I just took it off the wall here at JWB. And this was when Greg and my business partners thought we were really good at real estate. They had written this article about us. It was talking about how this new enterprise aimed at homeowners in foreclosure was successful, and of course they talked about us being from the University of Florida, so we were really fired up about it. And so I just called the newspaper, I left them a voicemail, and surprisingly they called us back and they put us in the newspaper. So 2006 was a really cool year for Greg and for my business partners, and then 2007 happened. In 2008, 2009. And of course in 2007, the real estate market crashed. In 2008, the lending market crashed. And now when we were starting our company, we, like most entrepreneurs trying to survive in the beginning, tried all different types of real estate. We were a jack of all trades. We tried flipping houses to homeowners. We've tried flipping high-end houses. We tried flipping homes to folks that needed grant money to get down payments. At one point, we were the leader in figuring out grant money here in Jacksonville. We did rental properties, of course. We bought about 40 rental properties. We did lease options, seller financing, wholesaling, anything that was out there to be figured out. It was an exciting time, and we tried it. What happened in 2007 and 2008 really taught us some hard lessons. As I mentioned, we were trying a lot of different things, but we hadn't become really great at anything. And then when the market crashed and we could no longer sell properties as easily, I remember kind of looking at our business with my business partners and this was at a point when the sky was falling all around. Nobody wanted to be in real estate. And we looked at our business and we said, well, what's working? And here's a funny story too. Business was so bad, it was so bad to be in real estate in 2006, 7, and 8, that my business partner was actually pulled over for a speeding ticket. He told the cop he was in real estate, and the cop let him off because he felt sorry for him. That's how bad things were. So that's kind of where we were. Things were not looking good. We lost a lot of money. There was a lot of time that we did not get paid. We made sure that our folks were paid on our team, but we made sure that our investors were paid, but we didn't make money. We ended up losing a lot of money. We also took a look at what we were doing, and we tried to understand what was working, and there wasn't a whole lot of it. But as we looked at the different things that we were spending our time on, one thing that jumped out to us, the one thing that was working was also the one thing that we were spending the least amount of time on, and that was our rental property portfolio. You see, we were trying all these other things, spending a whole lot of time, and as we were doing that, the cash flow from our 40 rental properties consistently came in. And so we saw this in our numbers, and we had missed it for 2 years, and we said, hey dummies, there's probably something there. Of course, this was while things were really tough for us. And I remember looking at my business partner and saying, you know what? We don't have a lot that we can sell right now. We can't sell to first-time home buyers. We can't sell to high-end clients. We're not selling to investors who want to flip properties. But you know what we do have? We have a lot of friends and family members and other folks asking us about how we bought these 40 rental properties. And folks had kind of said, people around us, our friends, our family, and the clients that we had, they were intrigued about how a few 20-somethings could buy 40 rental properties in a year and a half. And so we had that there. And then we looked at our own experience and we said, well, this is the one thing that's working. While everything else around us is crashing, this is the one thing that's working. And we said, I wonder if we could package this thing. I wonder if we can use our experience, which we believe wholeheartedly in buying and owning rental properties, and then package it for all those folks that have been intrigued. Understand how they can do this for themselves and make it a hassle-free experience. And so from that terrible experience of 2007, 2008, the low of the lows, when I thought that I was going to let my entire friend, family network, the clients that we had, I was very concerned because we were in a tough spot. What came from that was the turnkey model, and that's what we're all about now. That's JWB Real Estate Capital. We help clients build a portfolio of turnkey rental properties, and we do it to create this experience for folks so that they can do it. Whatever market they're in, they can invest in Jacksonville. Whatever their line of work is, they can invest with us and our team can make it hassle-free. So it was a really cool experience, and over the years now, we started in 2006, about 13 plus years now, we have built up a really wonderful organization. We have 80 plus people in our office, which is still crazy for me to say, 80 plus people here on our team, and we've won some really cool awards along the way. So I'll share a few of those with you. Fastest growing company is something that we've continued to win. Either that's the Inc. 500, which we've been on a number of years, or the Jacksonville Business Journal, which recognizes fastest growing companies here in the Northeast Florida region. You can see 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 2019 for fastest growing companies. We were just notified of that. And then best places to work is something that we care a tremendous amount about. This is our team award. And this is what we strive to do. Our culture on our team is really important. So we've won that award every year except for 2013. From 2012, 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. I don't know what happened in 2013. And then Companies with Heart is another very important award. We're a 4-time winner of that award. And we've been featured in the front page of the Wall Street Journal. We were featured in 2013 as being a pioneer of the build-to-rent model, where we build new construction homes and sell those as income streams, as investments for our clients. We've also been featured in the New York Times, Bloomberg, of course the Jacksonville Business Journal, the Florida Times-Union, but the very thing that I am most proud about from our team, and if you ask anybody on our team, the thing that we most associate our mission with is the fact that we got to build a brand new construction home last year and give it away to a wounded warrior. We have our foundation, our charitable foundation, which is called JWB Cares. And last year at our charity golf tournament, we raised $75,000, partnered with ourselves, our clients, our team, our network of contractors, and everybody pitched in for the betterment of this wounded warrior. And so Rick was the wounded warrior. He suffered a traumatic head injury and really struggled when he came back from his service. He suffered through a divorce, and he didn't have a stable home for him and his son to be living in. And so Rick was selected as the deserving wounded warrior. We were able to give him this beautiful new construction home for him to live in and to have this wonderful, constant, stable home life for him and his son and his dog, Berkeley. And it was this amazing experience. The thing that I took the most away from that experience was when I was there and we were giving the home to Rick. And the newscast was there. They had the news stations there. They had a lot of the local papers were there writing it up. And Rick pulled me to the side. And you know, when a military guy pulls you to the side, it's a little bit different. He had my full attention. And I looked in his eyes, and there was some tears, but there was also the most stern look that I had ever seen. And he pulled me to the side, and he locked my eyes, and I could not look away. And he said, "Greg, you and your team are the type of people I would give my life for." And that moment continues to give me goosebumps every time I think about it. That is what we're trying to do here at JWB. Our mission is to change people's lives. And Rick is a great example of it, but the whole idea of building new constructions, which is what we're known for our clients, and to give a new construction home and to impact and change his life and to impact the community for the better is what we're all about. So it was a super very cool moment in our history, and it's something that we aim to do every single year. We have another charity golf tournament coming up this year, and it's hopefully a platform where we can do better and better things. So that's a little bit about JWB. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you're thinking and what people and your peers may be thinking and what they may be doing, right? A lot of times we get phone calls and folks are, the number one thing people are talking about is diversifying out of the stock market and into rental properties. So why is this happening? Why are people taking money from the traditional asset classes and coming and trying to find something better? What's lacking from the stock market? And what comes down to is consistency. That is what is lacking from the stock market. If you put your money in the stock market, the data will show you that if you keep it in there for a long enough time period, that what you're going to see is that you're probably going to earn a really decent rate of return. But the swings, the ups and downs, and the lack of knowledge of it coming, and the lack of truly fundamentals that govern the stock market, it's kind of an emotional marketplace. And that freaks people out. And if you are one of those folks that can't afford to have one of those downturns happen, let's say that you're getting ready for retirement, and one of those downturns happens because one of our world leaders does something crazy, right? Or some CEO of some major company or some economy out there does something crazy, God forbid some world disaster happens, you could be in a tough spot if you have your money in the stock market and you experience one of those lows, right? So it's not necessarily the rate of return that is driving people from the stock market, it's the lack of consistency, it's the volatility, right? And that is where rental properties shine. Right? We're going to talk a lot about that today, but rental properties, and what I came to understand is even in the midst of all of the world falling around me, home prices dropping 30 to 35%, it didn't affect my quality of life when I was buying those first 40 rental properties. The cash flows continued to come in, right? People still needed a place to rent and to live. And so while my home values dropped at that time, it didn't bother me. I was in for the long haul, right? That's what our clients think. They want the positive, passive income, the consistent, positive income, almost like a dividend, right? A very high paying dividend, right? And then, you know, hopefully the market doesn't crash like it did, but even if it did, if you're in for the long haul, what we've been able to see, and I'll surely show you the data here in a little bit, is that real estate prices follow patterns, and the rental income is consistent, and you just stay in the long haul, save for the long haul when it comes to home prices. The number one key that I want you to take away from today is to focus on long-term resident stays. This is what is missing from most property management companies out there, from most investors out there. It's the fact that they're focusing on the wrong things, right? They are not focusing on long-term tenant stays. What are they focusing on? Increases in rents, right? What else are they focusing on? They focus way too much on rent to price ratio and maybe not some of the other things, but they're definitely not focusing on long-term resident stays. If you show me an investor who has a long-term tenant, I'm gonna show you an investor who has a smile on his or her face. It's that simple. Long-term resident stays are the most important thing. I want you to meet one of our clients. Actually, two of our clients, Matt and Sarah. They're a couple. And Matt and Sarah live in Florida here. Just a wonderful couple. They came to us, I guess it was about 2 years ago. And Matt saw what happened in the Great Recession and wanted to diversify out of the stock market, put his money into rental properties, and did a hell of a job. He owns 75 properties here in Jacksonville, and I believe he has properties in other parts of the country as well. And so he has gone gangbusters. So after the Great Recession, the one thing that Matt failed at was he failed at finding the property management company that was worthy of managing 75 properties for him and controlling such a part of his financial portfolio. Matt fell into the rut that most investors typically do, which is thinking of your property management teammate as a commodity, thinking that you can do a Google search and find 1 million of them up there, so you probably don't need to separate the best from the not so best. And what ultimately happened is that Matt had one of the worst situations that I have seen when it comes to lack of long-term tenant stays. And the reason why lack of long-term tenant stays is so important is because it's a cascading effect. What also happens is maintenance costs are high. Your tenants don't stay a long time, so your vacancy costs are higher. We did a little case study on Matt and Sarah, and we looked at before JWB, what was their gross revenue, what was their average length of lease sign, and what was their average rent. And what we were able to do in 7 months for Matt and Sarah was to increase their rents by 19%. Their rent roll went up 19% in 7 months. But the coolest thing, and the thing that's gonna have the most dramatic long-term impact for Matt and Sarah, is their lease terms. We went from an average lease term of 12 months for them, which is what typical property managers sign, to 29 months, and we did this in only 7 months, okay? Now let me tell you about, and here's some of the numbers here that you can see, but let me tell you about how bad it was for Matt and Sarah. After Matt and Sarah came to JWB, and we sat down and looked at their portfolio, their previous property management company had no clue if people were in their homes, much less if they were collecting rent. We were told that homes were occupied that hadn't been occupied for months, right? When Matt and Sarah came to us, one of the very first calls that we received from their resident was a call, and it said that the resident had a maintenance issue. And the issue was that he was sitting inside his living room and he could see the outside of his house, and he was not talking about a window. He was talking about termite damage that was so prevalent, that had been there for so long, that they had made a hole in his home. Because of things like this, I can guarantee you residents were not itching to sign long-term leases with Matt's previous property management company. Matt came over, he had $225,000 worth of outstanding maintenance on his portfolio. $225,000 because of the churn, and because of a property manager that was not taking care of deferred maintenance. Right? Is that a pretty big pill to swallow for a rental property portfolio? $225,000? Absolutely. But the reason why Matt was able to pay those things, and why he was actually excited to take care of those issues, is because he saw the difference in his residents' opinions of his properties, the difference in the working relationship, and that is what allowed his residents to sign 29-month on average lease terms. right? So let's go and take a look at what this really means in terms of numbers. Okay, I am a very big believer in something called the 3-year rule. That is what is known internally in our office, the 3-year rule. And it simply says that if you want to hit your return requirements as an investor of rental properties, your residents need to stay 3 years. It's as simple as that. We're going to break down the numbers here. Take a look at this case study here. This is a home that a client has purchased. Very typical investment property for JWB, right? Your purchase price is $160,000. It's brand new construction, 3 beds, 2 baths, and a 2-car garage. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the estimated monthly rent. All right, the rent there is $1,150. Now, we know because we have sold over 2,000 turnkey rental properties, and because we are maniacal about tracking returns for our clients, we know on average how much maintenance costs and vacancy costs our clients are going to receive. And it comes down to these percents. 4% of the gross rents are what we tell our clients to expect for a vacancy cost. What's a vacancy cost? Well, that's the cost that you pay to the mortgage company when your home is not occupied. That's your principal, interest, taxes, insurance payment, right? So you continue to pay when folks are not in your home. That's vacancy cost, and the vacancy rate is 4%. Maintenance rate is also 4% of gross rent. So totally every single year, on average, I'm expecting our clients to lose 8% when it comes to maintenance and vacancy costs. If you run the numbers to it, that comes out to about $1,100 of costs that are going to be gone to estimated vacancy and maintenance costs. Now, this is assuming JWB's numbers, right? And our average length of tenant stay is actually way longer than 3 years. It's actually over 4 years. It's 49 months, right? So if you look at this and you know that you're going to have $1,100 go out the door when things are in great management's hands, let's talk about what really happens when there is a turnover and what happens when you have more frequent turnovers if you go with somebody who might not focus on this. Your average turnover cost, you've got about 45 days of vacancy to move the other resident out, to find the new resident, put the new resident in. It takes about 45 days for us to do it. If you count the numbers up, it's about $1,300 a cost. Your repairs, about $2,000. Here's another little tip that most property management companies don't want to share with you. It's the fact that you are going to put more money back into your rental property when the tenant turns over, when the previous resident moves out and you put somebody else in. Paint, any flooring, other knickknacks, things like this, they cost money. You're not going to get it covered by the security deposit. It's just not real. So know that going in. So you got $2,000 that goes out for repairs when somebody leaves. Your total costs are $3,300, right? What would happen if you had that $3,300 cost every year or every 2 years? You would never make the numbers work. And this is the trap that most investors fall into, right? The reason that they're in that trap is because they sign 1-year leases. And the problem with 1-year leases is that it's a strategy based on hope and prayer that you can convince people to do something longer than what they originally told you they were going to do. I don't know about you, but that's never a strategy that I enjoy, right? That's not a strategy. If I'm going to put a large amount of my wealth into something, I don't want it to be based on a hope and a prayer, right? But you need a 3-year tenant to make this model work. So the very first problem comes down to short-term leases. This idea, this prevailing theme out there for property management companies that signing a 1-year lease is good enough, that it's normal, that it's going to serve their clients, and that's a fallacy. That's not going to happen. And they're going to have to work twice as hard. And most people are not motivated that way. So that is the bottom line why most property management companies refuse to sign longer than a 1-year lease, even though it would be for the benefit of their owners. Let's break it down. I want everybody out there to imagine you're a property management company owner, and the reason I'm putting my hand on my head right now is because I want you to do it too. I want you to put your property management owner hat on. All right? I can see you all through the video there. You got to put your property management company owner hat on here, right? I want you to think as if you're a property management company owner. I am one of the owners here at JWB. We have our property management in-house. I get to see the books, so I can share with you what it really looks like, and I want you to think about how you would be motivated and what actions you would take if you were an owner of a property management company. The first place that a property management company makes money is on their tenant placement fee. This is the fee that is earned by a property management company when they put a new resident in your home. Everybody else calls them tenants. I call them residents, right? Because they're going to stay for forever for us. So your resident placement fee, your tenant placement fee, is typically equal to first month's rent. The next way a property management company is going to make money is your property management monthly fee. And when the rents are collected, your property management company is generally going to earn about 10% of the rents. All right, so we're going to break down the numbers, and I want you to look at and see how it would work and what you would do if you were an owner of a property management company when it comes to your best dollar per hour activity. The rent for this property is $1,000 a month. Okay? So how much is the property management company going to make day one? Well, day one, they're going to earn their tenant placement fee, right? So that's equal to first month's rent. That means they're going to earn $1,000. That rent is $1,000. How much are they going to earn after 1 year? All right? They are going to make 10% of the rent every single month, which equals $100 a month, times 12, gets them to $1,200 for the year. Okay? Now think about this. You're a business owner. What do you focus on? You focus on your best dollar per hour activity. Would you rather work for a couple of weeks of work and get paid day one $1,000, or would you rather make $1,200 managing a property for an entire year? And keep in mind that most of you on this training here are here because you want to outsource the property management. You do not want to do it, right? And it's a lot of work, right? It's the rent collection, it's the building the relationship with the resident, it's handling any maintenance issues, it's, you know, the accounting, it's the customer service. It is a ton of work. And so if you can make $1,000 day one or make $1,200 after a year's worth of work, you're absolutely going to keep the tenant placement a high priority for you. We'll say it nicely there. A little known fact is that 25 to 50% of all revenues for property management companies actually come directly from tenant placement fees. So what this should do is illustrate to you that even if you found a property management company that operated like this, and they wanted to sign long-term leases for you, you might put them out of business. 25 to 50% of their revenue is coming from tenant placement fees. If they sign 2 and 3 year leases, they're not going to get as much tenant placement fees. So it's a broken model, it's one that doesn't work, and obviously we do it differently. Your goals have to be aligned with your property management company. You should think of your property management company as a part of your financial team. And especially if you're like one of our clients who aims to buy 5, 15, 30 properties in their portfolio. Our clients are putting a significant amount of their money with us. And any time that you are putting a significant amount of capital, you want to make sure that the person you're putting it with is making money when you're making money. The problem with the property management model right now is that property management companies make more money when your tenants stay a shorter amount of time. That is not going to work. That is why it's a broken model, and that's why most people don't like to talk about the rental property experience, because they're pretty disappointed, right? It didn't live up to their own expectations. They're tired of being the landlord, and they're tired of their tenants turning over and over and over again. It all comes back to goals being aligned. Your property manager must make more money. So I know some of you out there are asking, well, how is JWB different? Right? I have just been slamming the normal property management company model, but you know, I'm a property management company owner too. And here's how it's different. JWB knowingly forfeits potential tenant placement fees that we could be earning if we were signing 1 year leases. We know this to be true. The numbers are pretty staggering. So why do we do it? Well, we are incentivized differently than most property management companies. We are what's called a turnkey company. Most property management companies don't sell properties, and they don't sell a lot of them. JWB, our biggest money source, our biggest revenue, is home sales. And so our bet that we make, that has been validated over time, is that if we bring the right clients on board, who want to own 5, 10, 30 rental properties. And we sign long-term leases and we focus on lease renewals. What's going to happen is we're going to put ourselves in a great chance, we're going to put ourselves in a great position to hit that 3-year rule. And that's what we've been doing. And when we hit that 3-year rule, which for us is 49 months is our average length of tenant stay, when we do that, it only makes sense that those clients who have a portfolio goal of 15 properties to come back and buy more with us, and to buy more with us, right? And to tell their friends and their family about us and all that. So our carrot is much different than other property management companies. And at the core of it, that's why we act differently. That's why we're incentivized to have long-term tenant stays when the normal property management model is based on an outdated fee structure. All right, so now let's get to key number 2. Invest in a growth market and simply hold on. My dad used to talk to me about deferred gratification, right? Why do we live in this world now where people just can't make a solid decision and hold on to it? Why do we have to find the shiny object, right? If you are somebody who is thinking about buying real estate and selling it the next year, or following that shiny object, this is not for you, right? This is a strategy built on solid fundamentals. Invest in a growth market and simply hold on and you'll be rewarded for it. I want to introduce you to another client, Matt and his wife, Alicia. Matt and Alicia are a fantastic couple. They've been clients for a few years now. And Matt is an organic grain broker in Little Rock, Arkansas. Super cool guy. Matt and I bonded over Topgolf. That's the picture that you see here. And when Matt came to us, his original plan, he just simply got it. I remember when I brought him on board as a client, he simply got it. We were going over his plan and he said, I'm buying for consistent income today and I want to be in a growth market. And I know Jacksonville has growth prospects that are better than other places, Little Rock and a few other cities he was considering. And so he got it, right? But I'll tell you that Topgolf also had an impression on Matt because one afternoon I remember getting an email from Matt and he had shared his pictures of him and Alicia getting married, and as a part of the wedding week he got to go play Topgolf. So that's the picture there. It's in the Vegas Strip and he loved Topgolf. And so at that point Matt I believe he owned 5 properties at that point. And I said, well, Matt, Jacksonville is also getting a Topgolf. And he goes, no way. He's like, I knew this was a growth city. I knew I invested in the right place. So I don't know if Topgolf, helped Matt make the decision to buy another round of property. I think he bought another 5 properties when I mentioned the Topgolf thing. But what it goes to show is that companies are moving to Jacksonville. Businesses love going places where people are moving. And when population continues to grow, good things happen for your rental property portfolio. We're going to look at some of the numbers there. But this is a little bit about their investments, right? We always want to find out why folks are investing. As you can tell, Matt and Alicia are a young couple, and they were thinking many years in the future. And for them, they wanted this rental property portfolio to create financial freedom, this consistent income to give them the ability to do what they wanted when they wanted, and an early retirement. So as we do with all new clients that come on board, we break down what that really means. And for Matt and Alicia, that came down to $11,000 a month of a monthly passive income goal. We broke that down again and say, okay, well that really comes down to about 16 properties, and as of today they own 15. They are well on their way, and what a success story here. Their total investment with us is over $1 million. So what did Matt know that is the basis of why I believe you should be investing in a growth market and holding on? Well, we're going to take a look at some data here. The graph here shows average home sales prices from 1988 to 2018. And what you're going to see here are these 2 lines. And they're not that different. The red line is the trend line, which shows that across the US, home prices have appreciated at a clip of 3.75%. The blue line, I think that's blue. I'm colorblind, so I think it's blue. There we go. I got the head nod that it's blue. Is the actual average home sales prices at different points along the way. What I want you to take away from this is that there is not a lot of volatility across the entire country, and that is a 30-year time span. And this is the way appreciation works. If you are thinking about appreciation and you want to talk 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I'm not going to have the conversation with you. right? Appreciation is a conversation, and appreciation rates are a conversation starter when you're talking 10, 20-year cycles. Because what you will see with home prices across the US is that if you take any point in time there and you look 10, 20 years out, you're gonna see that it comes back to the norm, right? But it's not just the US. It's the same thing here in Jacksonville. And this is even more important, right? In 2007 and 2008 and 2009, we saw the biggest crash of real estate prices, right? So it was the perfect opportunity for me to test this theory that over 10 or 15-year cycles, things are going to come back. We started in 2001 on this graph. What I'm showing you here is median home sales prices from 2001 to about 6 months ago. What you're seeing here, the red line, is the trend line. That is the average appreciation rate from Jacksonville for the last 27 years. So what you're seeing there is a lot longer than what this graph is showing. But the point here is that things come back to the norm. Even when things take the biggest spike from 2001 to 2006 and the biggest drop from 2006 to 2012, if we come back out to the end of 2018, you're still right at that trend line, right? So I don't want to talk about appreciation in the short run, but I love talking about appreciation if you are a deferred gratification investor. If you are somebody that wants to invest in a growth market and you want to hold on for 10 years, 20 years, this is when appreciation makes sense. And this is where your selection of which market you're going to be investing in makes such a difference. I talk to so many investors across the country, and I just want to get real with them sometimes, right? I just want to get real, right? So many investors have what I call cash flow blinders on. Cash flow blinders mean the way that they make a decision on a market and a property is strictly by the rent to price ratio, right? They want to look at the property that delivers the most rental income for the least investment. And they got part of the answer right, but not the whole answer. And if you miss the whole answer, you're missing a lot, right? What I want to show you here are typical cash flow markets out there. Markets that compete with Jacksonville for investment dollars for turnkey rental properties. And I want you to look at the home price appreciation from 1991 to 2018. You've got Cleveland there on the low side, under 2.5% appreciation. Memphis a little bit higher, Birmingham and Kansas City. But look at Jacksonville, right? Over 4% appreciation from 1991 to 2018. So if you are an investor and you are looking at your investment decision and you look at Cleveland and you say, you know what, Greg, I can get an extra 25 bucks a month or an extra 50 bucks a month of rent there. So I'm going to go to Cleveland. I think you might be making a mistake, right? I think you're going to look back after 10 years or 20 years and you have given up a lot of potential return that you didn't need to do. And this is what I want to share with folks. Cash flow and rent to price ratio is a great component of your decision, but it should not govern your entire decision, right? Long-term growth should have a place too. Of course, you should also focus on the market, you should focus on the economy, you should focus on the team that is going to be serving you, but long-term appreciation should have a seat at the table as well as cash flow, as well as rental income divided by initial investment. And there are so many folks out there that have blinders on and they're only willing to look at one. So I want to encourage you all to make a balanced decision. What our clients do is they look at Jacksonville and they say, you know what, I know that I could use this money that I have my Jacksonville portfolio in, and I could go ahead and put that in Cleveland and earn more cash on cash return from rental income today. I know that. But they say, you know what? Number one, I love the JWB team. I love the economy here. But I also am making the bet that after 10 years, 15 years of keeping my portfolio in Jacksonville, my returns from investing in Jacksonville are going to dwarf what I would put in Cleveland because of the long-term growth. And I put some numbers to it. As you can tell, I'm a numbers guy, right? If you purchased a property for $100,000 in 1991 in Cleveland, your property would be worth a little bit over $188,000 in 2018. Is that great? Yeah, I'll take that, right? 2.5% growth every single year, maybe a little bit under than that. I'll take that. But comparing that same decision with the decision of potentially buying that property in Jacksonville is pretty staggering. If you purchase that same property for $100,000 in 1991 in Jacksonville, your property would be worth $313,000 in 2018. That is a difference of over $124,000 simply by investing in a growth market, by taking those cash flow blinders off, by looking at the balanced way to make an investment decision, right? And how much would you have earned from potential estimated cash flow in Cleveland over 27 years? I'd estimate about 16 grand. So which would you rather have? Would you rather have an extra $124,000 on that one property from investing in a growth market like Jacksonville? Or would you rather have that $16,000 in cash-on-cash return rental income that pales in comparison? Most of you would say Jacksonville. Now, I want to make some point very clear here. I only believe in investing in assets that pay for themselves. I do not want all of you to go off the deep end and start buying rental properties in New York, California, Virginia, all these high-priced markets where you cannot make the asset pay for itself. I firmly believe in I firmly believe in the asset paying for itself. But what I want you to do is to cross that threshold with a market like Jacksonville, and then look for some other things that are really going to supercharge your returns. My third key here, and something I just absolutely want to drill into everybody's head, most people don't understand this, but I care so deeply about not just selling properties to our clients, but having a wonderful working relationship. I care so deeply because most people don't understand how to achieve consistency with their rental property portfolio. So key number 3 is that consistency equals 3 or more. And what I mean there is that consistency equals 3 or more properties. If you come to JWB and your plan is to buy one rental property, we are going to have a very important conversation with you that is not the way to achieve consistency. And why is that? Well, because if we only are managing one of your properties, we're either going to be the hero or we're going to be the dog for you. And it's going to be totally dependent on whether or not your home is rented. And sure, the home is going to be rented on average for 49 months, but you know what? Sometimes things happen. We're going to have one of those real conversations too, right? And so the concept here with consistency is that you need to have 3 properties or more in order for us to be allowed to produce this consistent asset class. And if we go back to the beginning of this presentation, the reason why most people are leaving the stock market is because of consistency concerns, right? They need to come into rental properties because the stock market has too much variability. So consistency is really important for our clients, and 3 properties is that threshold that allows us to be consistent. I'm going to show you what I mean here. Well, first I want to introduce you to Jim and Stacy and this awesome story of the Great American Loop. So I don't know if anybody has heard of the Great American Loop before. I had never heard of it before working with Jim and Stacy. But the Great American Loop is this kind of really cool, crazy idea that folks get on a boat in Florida. They go up the eastern seaboard on a boat. They go all the way to the Great Lakes. They come down the Mississippi and they come back to Florida. It takes 6 to 9 months. And Jim and Stacy shared with us that this was what they wanted to do when we built this passive income portfolio for them. They told me about this and I was like, this sounds awesome. I love that I'm going to help you do it, but I don't think I can stay on a boat for 6 to 9 months. But for them, this is what their vision has been. They wanted to be able to build up enough passive income so that one of them could leave their jobs and the other one will take a 6 to 9 month sabbatical and they would go on this trip. And they're well on their way. They haven't done it yet, but they're well on their way. In order to get there, we needed to get 10 properties in their portfolio. We're at 8, and I cannot wait to get the pictures from Jim and Stacy when they're on the Great American Loop there. But as we were talking about what does it really take to get to the Great American Loop, we talked about how important it is for us to have a robust portfolio. And here's where you're going to see 3 properties and why it's so important, right? Here's a sample portfolio here, and it's showing 3 properties, and this is very typical for what is going to happen in your portfolio, right? What most people don't understand is that when you own a portfolio of rental properties, it is not always going to be roses. There are going to be things that happen. Your residents are going to do things that make us cringe sometimes. They are going to make decisions sometimes that are just flat out stupid. And sometimes it's going to result in bad things happening to your rental properties. It's just real life, right? Now, you're never ever going to feel the pain of that because JWB obviously is going to be handling all those things for you. As long as it fits within the expected maintenance costs, you're going to be fine. But that's the reality. And so what most people don't understand is that the flip side is that when you have a portfolio and you have your property rented out, when it's rented, you are overperforming for your rental property during that time. We're doing better than we told you to expect because you don't have as much maintenance costs and you don't have as much vacancy costs, right? So you're kind of creating this cash flow surplus when you've got these rental properties that are rented. That's the way it works, right? And then what happens is when something bad happens, when a resident turns over, when a new one's got to get put in, you're going to get a little punch to the gut. It's going to happen in the form of maintenance and vacancy costs for that property where something bad happens, and it's not going to look pretty on that 1 year. The reason why we need 3 properties to create consistency is, generally speaking, when you have 3, 2 of them are going to be the former, which is the overperforming, they're going to be rented, and the reality is you're probably always going to have one property that something just didn't go right when you got 3 or more. But that's okay. Your surplus from the first 2 is overcoming any negatives on the third one, and that's how we're able to create that consistent cash flow. So let's take a look here, right? This first top property here is a great example of consistency. This is what we aim to achieve every single year. You can see returns, you can't get much more consistent than that. You're not typically going to see that in the stock market as far as rates of return that are consistent there, right? 9%, 8% every single year. And we expected 7.43% returns when Jim and Stacy bought this property. That's what we committed to them up front, day one. And you can see that we're just over 8%. We love that, right? Great example. Let's look at the bottom one here, right? We've got really great returns here. We expected 10.5%. We're at 10.3%. All positives here. We're liking that a lot. Now let's look at the problem child, right? In 2017. Do you see a negative number here? What I want to share with every investor, if you choose to work with JWB or if you're owning rental properties, you're going to have this. It's okay. It's normal, right? And what's going to happen is you're generally going to have 2 that are overperforming, one's going to be underperforming. And what our clients subscribe to is the theory that this is the only line that matters. What I'm showing you here is the total portfolio ROI report. What we do with every client, just like I shared with you how we had expected returns and actual returns, we calculate these on a monthly basis for our clients, so they're always in the know. And then we look at what their total portfolio expected returns are and what their total portfolio actual rates of return are. And this is the only line that matters, right? Have Matt and Alicia and Jim and Stacy, have they had evictions in their portfolio? Absolutely, right? Have they had bad things that have happened in their portfolio? Absolutely. Are they super happy with their portfolios over time? Yes, it doesn't matter what happens up there. As long as this bottom line number, the total portfolio report, is at expectations and consistent, you are going to be a happy camper, just like Jim and Stacy. So what I share with all clients coming on board up front is you need to put some capital in here, right? And you need to be able to buy 3 properties within the first year or 2. Do we sell properties to clients who want to buy 1? Yes. We love working with clients that want to buy 1 property right off the bat. But we share with them openly, honestly, you need to be to 3 properties within about a 1 to 2 year span. And then we help them get there, right? But if you're coming in and you're saying, I want to buy 1 property and that's all I'm going to buy, it's a very good chance that through our discussions, we might both agree that we might not be the best fit, because we are not going to be able to produce consistency for you, and consistency is what most of our clients need. So if you are interested in consistency, if what I'm sharing with you is interesting, if it strikes a chord with you, if you'd like to learn more, everything starts with a rental property investment plan that we build for our clients. This is what we did for Jim and Stacy, as you just saw. That's how we got to understand they wanted to go on the Great American Loop. Same thing with Matt and Alicia, and we do with all clients coming on board. But this is a really important part that I don't think is a very common thing when folks are thinking about buying rental properties. It's more common in the financial services sector, right? Most financial planners want to sit down and build out a financial plan. They charge $500, $800 to do that. well, why don't we do the same thing for rental properties, especially if this is taking the place of a lot of those stock market type of investments? So that's what we do. We build a rental property investment plan. We have a teammate here on our team who was a former financial planner. So what a great mix there. And we only have 2 teammates that actually produce these plans for clients. We want to make sure we're working with the right client, and we don't have a lot of bandwidth. We do that on purpose. So if this is something that you would like to be a part of, if you would like to have our team and use our expertise to build a personalized rental property investment plan for you, you can fill out the form on the page you should see here. You can also go to getyournewplan.com, and my team will carve out some time and we will build this plan for you. Again, personalized rental property investment plan, you can go to getyournewplan.com or fill out the form on the page, and my team will reach out, we'll set up a phone call, and we'll be able to build a plan. And spoiler alert, we're gonna ask you, what is a really cool thing that you wanna do? What is your why, right? What is the thing that's motivating you? What is your great American loop, or what is it for you that represents financial freedom, right? Early retirement. What are you gonna do with your time? Those are the kind of questions that really make us kind of engaged and super excited to serve our clients. So those are some of the questions you may wanna ask yourself ahead of time. But this plan's gonna cover how much capital you need, what kind of returns should you be able to expect, how many properties does that break down to? You saw how we kind of broke that down for Matt and Alicia and Jim and Stacy, right? How long should you plan to hold on your investments, right? Very important questions. Again, our team will sit down with you and build that rental property investment plan. We just ask that there's only serious inquiries only. We only have 2 guys on our team that sit down and do this for all of our clients. We serve over 1,000 clients, come to us from 43 states, 13 countries. We manage over 3,100 properties. These guys are super busy. So if it's something that you'd like, go there, fill out the form, and we'd love to start the process with you there. But you know, the why is the question in my office is probably the thing I'm most known for, right? My team loves to hear about our clients' whys, and we started to ask them about their whys many years ago, and I don't know, I just think it's one of the coolest things. We get to hear these stories about what it is our clients are doing and the positive impact that we get to have on their lives. So I'm going to share another story with you. This is, again, one of the coolest ones. This is Liz and Steve, and the reason I'm sharing this picture of a sailboat with you is because Liz and Steve had this super amazing life, right? And we've had a small part of helping them get there. Our team every month reaches out to our clients, and we do this whether we have great news, we have no news, we call and we see how they're doing. And we share their returns, good, bad, or ugly. We have a very close-knit relationship. Well, we had a problem with Liz and Steve. We kept calling them and they wouldn't pick up. We were like, what is going on here? And we found this out. So once we asked them what they were doing, Liz and Steve gushed about how excited they were that the consistent income that they've had has allowed them to sell their primary residence, buy a sailboat, and travel around the world. So we play this little game every single month. Where in the world are Liz and Steve? And they've been kind enough to share their GPS with us on their boat so that we put the GPS tracker in there. We figure out which port they're in the entire world. We're always super surprised. We have no idea where they're going to be. And they share what they are doing with the cultures they're meeting, the food they're eating. It's just this really cool thing. And that's how we have this amazing relationship with Liz and Steve. And why were they able to do that? Well, they've been investing with us for 6.5 years. They've earned about an 8% rate of return, and they've been able to put about $100,000 of lifetime net rental income. That's what gives them the peace of mind and the confidence to sell their primary residence to go travel abroad. And we are so thankful we've had an opportunity to be a part of that. Liz and Steve invested about $195,000 about 6.5 years ago, and you can see this consistency has been real for them, right? They've earned about 9% every single year. One year they earned a little bit around 5%. They've earned 9% or more every single year. One year it dipped down to 5%, right? They can handle that type of variability, right? And overall we're at 7.8%. We told them we'd be at 7.5%, and they are just the sweetest couple and a pleasure to serve. So I want to say thank you to all of you for joining. I know we've had a few questions here, so I figured I'd take the next 5 or 10 minutes for us to answer some of those questions, and We'll see as many, and for any that we couldn't answer today, we will make sure if you can email those to info@jwbcompanies.com, and we will make sure we answer those quickly. All right, Kate, what do we got?
All right, so one question that we had come through was the typical purchase price of our properties.
Typical purchase price, all right. So a typical purchase price, and keep in mind what you're gonna see here are brand new construction rental properties. That's our focus. So $160,000 to $200,000 is our average purchase price range. And typically that'll be a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, maybe a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home here in Jacksonville.
Awesome. All right, are the properties rented at the time of purchase?
Are the properties rented at the time of purchase? That is a great question. And here's how it works. So we have a lot of demand. We have over 1,000 clients. So if we go through the process and would bring you on board as a client, we would have a few phone calls. The last phone call, we would be selecting properties together. There's a very good chance those properties are not rented at the time of going under contract, right? The homes are newly built. As soon as they're newly built, we make them available for sale, we make them available for rent, and you can't rent out homes, within a few days. Our properties typically sell within 7 days. So it's not probably going to be rented at the time of going under contract. But what I can tell you is that by the time that you actually close on the property, it will be rented, right? That is our focus on consistent cash flow, and it starts day one. There's nothing worse than bringing a client on board and having them have vacancy costs right off the bat. So you should not expect that, even though we do tell you to expect maintenance and vacancy costs in the first year. We want to be prepared for that. You should not see that right off the bat. The homes will be rented by the time of close.
Right, this is just a more commonly asked question that I thought we could go over. It involves the financing with your retirement accounts.
Financing with your retirement account. So a lot of people ask, can you buy properties in your retirement accounts? And the second question is, can you get financing? And this is going to be a whole nother training we're going to do on buying properties in your retirement accounts, but most people aren't aware of it, but you can. There is no reason you can't buy investment properties in your retirement accounts, right? The problem is that your custodian, your Merrill Lynch, your E-Trade, all those big brokerages don't allow you to do it. But that doesn't mean you can't find a brokerage you can. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, it's a great way to get maybe some of that retirement account money that you have in the stock market and put it into rental properties. We have aligned ourselves with a couple of great custodians that allow you to invest in rental properties, and we'd be happy to make those introductions to you. So you absolutely can invest in rental properties with your retirement accounts. You also can get lending in your retirement accounts, which is an even smaller known thing out there, that you can actually get leverage for a property that is owned in your retirement accounts. It's a completely different ball game than when you get leverage and financing for a property outside of your retirement account. So you cannot go to Bank of America or SunTrust or any of these big national banks and get financing in your retirement account. You have to work with a very special niche lender. They're very difficult to find. We, of course, have partnered with our niche lenders here. Happy to make those introductions for any folks that have those types of questions.
Right, another question that goes along with lending that Sam commented in was why we work with preferred lenders.
Why do we work with preferred lenders? Well, at the end of the day, the reason why we match you with your lender is because it's going to serve you better and it's going to serve JWB better. So a lot of times folks may have been working with another lender in another state, or may have bought their primary residence from a lender, and they would like to use that lender to buy their rental properties with JWB, and it just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Right? What ends up happening is that in most big banks, they just simply do not know enough about their own rules, and they do not share that with the originators or the mortgage brokers to be able to tell you actually if they can do the loan. There are little things called overlays. Overlays are rules that banks put in play that are just special rules that the bank has. And unfortunately, a lot of those overlays are what prevent your previous lender from completing the loan with JWB. And this has nothing to do with your credit score. Right? It has nothing to do with how much money you have in the bank. It's a rule that the other bank has that prevents you from working with a turnkey partner like JWB. One example of an overlay is title seasoning. Title seasoning is the amount of time that the previous seller, which would be JWB, has owned the property before we would sell it to you as a turnkey property. Right? So the turnkey model that we are a part of means that we're going to buy the asset, we're going to build the asset, we're going to sell it to you, and it's not going to take that much time. But title seasoning has requirements, maybe 1 year or 2 years, that JWB had to own the property before we sold it to a client. That might be the overlay. That's a very common one. There's hundreds of other ones that are out there. And so the problem is that your previous lender might say they can do the loan. You wouldn't find out until 6 weeks through the process. It was a terrible process for you, but for JWB, it's irresponsible for us to bet that your lender is going to be able to perform. We have to work with lenders that we know can perform. That's why we match you with your lender, and that's how we can create this great experience for clients out there.
That was actually from Andrew.
Andrew, thank you.
We had Paul Turner email in a question for us, asking whether any of our available properties are located in approximate 20 census tracts in Jacksonville that are designated opportunity zones.
Paul, great question. The question is, are any of the properties that we have in opportunity zones? Opportunity zones are just an awesome topic. I'm going to put a whole training together on it. I was actually talking with my business partner earlier today about doing this. But opportunity zones are something that you want to keep aware of, and of course we'll be training you more on it and how you can take advantage of it. But basically they are a great way to defer taxes. One of the best ways to defer taxes that I've seen. So the question is, do we have properties in those opportunity zones? And the answer is absolutely yes. A lot of our properties are in opportunity zones. So Paul, if you are looking to make the most of that opportunity zone investment, we certainly have assets that will qualify, which is really exciting.
And what happens when an investor wants to sell their rental property?
What happens when an investor wants to sell the rental property? So we are going to be with you every step along the way. We think of ourselves as a resource from the time you start with us to the time that you would exit the property. The big thing though is that we want to work with folks that want to hold for a very long time. The minimum hold for us is a 5-year hold. We just simply won't sell properties to clients if their intention is not to hold for at least 5 years, right? Because we think that we're setting you up for success with that type of a mindset. But what happens at the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year mark and you want to liquidate? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put you with a real estate agent that we can trust. We are not going to manage the sale for you. That is not what we do well, because the best thing for you to do in that case is to sell your property for top dollar. You want to sell it to an owner-occupant, right? We're going to put you with a real estate agent that we have done significant business with, that has sold our properties for many years, and that we have a lot of trust in, and we're going to put you with that real estate agent, and we're going to be with you the entire step along the way. We'll talk about values, we'll talk about really just the best thing for your long-term goals. That's a part of our monthly calls that we do with our clients when something like this comes up. So we're going to be with you, we're going to be a resource for you, and we will help you get there. We are not actually going to sell the property for you when it comes to liquidation time.
Philip emailed in, and this kind of goes back to some of your client stories, but just to kind of reiterate the correlation between the annual tax savings and the effect that has on your return on investment.
Annual tax savings is the question. What effect does annual tax savings have on the overall return on the investment? Is that it, Kate?
Yep.
Okay. So this is another hidden benefit, and I'm so glad that you asked this question. Philip, right?
Yep.
Philip, so glad you asked this question. Most investors, again, have those cash flow blinders on. They don't think about things like tax savings, right? What you're able to do with a rental property is almost to create sort of a mini tax deferred income stream. And the way that you do this is through the depreciation write-off. So the way the taxes work is that when you have rental income that comes in, that gets taxed at your federal tax bracket, right? It gets taxed as ordinary income, right? But what you're able to do, what the tax code allows us to do, is to depreciate the asset from a tax perspective every year. Generally, what you're going to see is that the tax code allows you to break down the investment over a 27.5-year period. And you're able to write off that expense in that year, right? So I'm just going to throw rough numbers out here. But if you had $4,000 of rental income that came in that year, and you had $4,000 of a write-off from depreciation that year, you don't have any taxable income from the rental property in that year, okay? People love this because this in essence is what you're doing with your IRAs and your 401ks, right? You're deferring taxes till later. Well, through these tax savings, you're able to do the same thing. And this is not any fancy accounting out there. This is accounting 101 with your CPA. But you should be taking advantage of the write-off from depreciation. And again, I should probably warn you, I am not a CPA. Do not take my advice and go fill out your own tax forms based on this. But I will tell you that this depreciation is very important for you. And when you're in a market like Jacksonville, which is a more expensive market than, let's say, a Cleveland out there, the tax savings, the depreciation write-off is that much more when you're in a market like this. So it's a very big benefit, and it's something that we break down and show all of our investors on property valuation. So Philip, if you have some more questions, we'd be happy to of course break that down for you on a future call. I think that's it for questions, huh? How do we do?
Awesome.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook Live, and we'll catch you on the next live training.